I won't take your riches, but I will take your life.
Well, we're checking out a portion of the first level of the game, which will be on the demo disc, which is where you fight, Kratos fights the Persian king, and a little bit further into that level. And we're also going to be checking out a level that's never been seen before, which is the Tartarus level of the game. The whole game takes place during the 10 years when Kratos is in servitude of the gods, after he becomes the Ghost of Sparta, but before the events of God of War 1. So the game starts kind of ending one of his services to the gods, which is stopping an invading army with their huge super weapon, which turns out to be a basilisk, from invading the shores of Attica. And at the very end of that level, after you complete the task, that propels you into the events of this story.
Olympus has sent a message, and I am here to deliver it. Then you are just a messenger. So take this message back to your little gods. It will take more than a pathetic Spartan to stop the power of the Empire.
And the new level you're going to see today, which is Tartarus, Kratos has to go into the pits of Tartarus, which is, in the Greek version of Hades, there's like Elysium, which is sort of heaven, and Tartarus, which is what we view hell, you know, where the bad people go.
Tartarus is actually a part of Hades. It's actually like the really, really nasty, seedy, dark underworld of Hades, where people are basically banished and exiled to. And so it's like the nastiest part of Hades that you could ever imagine. The Titans are also all imprisoned in Tartarus, and so they're chained up, they're kind of encrusted into the walls, and they're in a deep, deep slumber. And Kratos actually finds himself amidst these ginormous creatures, and he has to basically figure out how he's going to get out of Tartarus.
The Tartarus level, while it's heavy on combat, and there's a lot of new interesting creatures in that level, it's one of the bigger navigation levels. You're literally figuring out, how do I get out of, you know, this huge hellish pit.
One of the most important things that we wanted to do was to make sure that it didn't feel like a small place. Like, it felt like you could run anywhere. You're constantly being given choices of places you can go. It's a very non-linear level, so the player is going to be enticed to explore and find all sorts of little nooks and crannies where there's combat and, you know, treasures and hidden secrets. In Attica, the leader of the Persian army, the Persian king, is basically standing between you and defeating the basilisk. So there's a point in the first level of the game where you're going to have to do combat, face the Persian king and his henchmen. And he's a really large enemy, so this is your first actual foray into fighting larger enemies than the small kind of fodder guys that they're going to throw at you all the time. And he has a magic ability, which upon defeating him, Kratos is going to learn how to use as well.
Please, spare my life, and I will give you all that you ask. You have nothing I want, Persian. Take my kingdom, my women, my gold.
The magic that you're going to get is called the Ifrit magic, and the Ifrit is a really large fiery demon that basically Kratos summons, and it just explodes into the screen. The whole background goes dark, and this big thing is just, this fiery demon is going to come out and just plunge his fist into the ground. All sorts of people catch on fire and die. So it's really like this. It's a very large kind of spectacle of effects and fire. It's pretty awesome.
That was a big part of the pre-production, was figuring out how to stay true to the God of War franchise on a PSP. We never really looked at it as we were making a PSP game. We're just making a God of War game, and we're going to make it as great as possible. And it's such a feather in our caps to read articles saying, you know, it looks like the PS2 game, it plays like the PS2 game.
It was actually challenging to make sure that we could portray the type of universe that felt huge and expansive, to make sure the player felt like they were in Greece or they were in these places that mythology tells you about, and that the previous God of War games have really showed you so well. So that was a challenge. Making sure that it could all run really smoothly on the PlayStation Portable is also a huge challenge. But our artists are really amazing. They meticulously work day and night to make sure that this stuff is just, you know, doesn't let anybody down. We're very, very proud of the way the game looks.
You know, the proof's in the pudding when you see what's on the screen. It's amazing. And, you know, more times than not, people go, this is a PSP game? And it's, you know, it's great to hear, but at the same time, the PSP is capable of these things, and we're just trying to make a great game, and that it's on the PSP, you know. Great. The God of War Chains of Olympus is coming out March 4th, 2008, but later this month the special edition demo is going to come out where you could, get your hands on playing the first level of the game, check out one of the new magics, and, really get your fix in, which should have people even looking more forward to the game when it does come out on March 4th.